You just bought a car, you're excited, you did your research, you got a good deal, you paid cash or financed it carefully. Now let me ask you a question that most people never think about. How much did that car actually cost you? You might say, well, I paid $30,000 for it, but that's not actually the answer. Because here's what happens the second you drive that new car off the lot. It loses thousands of dollars in value. Instantly. In the first year alone, most cars lose between 10 and 20% of their value. But that's just the beginning. Over the next 5 to 10 years, that car is going to cost you far more than the purchase price, and most people have no idea what those costs actually are. This is not about being irresponsible with money. This is about a hidden cost that basically nobody talks about. Here's what most people think about car costs. They think about the payment. If you financed a $30,000 car at 5% interest over 5 years, that's roughly $600 a month. Simple. But that's like looking at just the tip of an iceberg and thinking that's the whole thing. The real cost of owning a car is hidden in a dozen different places, and your brain doesn't naturally add them all up together. You pay for insurance, somewhere between $100 and $200 a month depending on your age and location. You pay for gas, you pay for maintenance, oil changes, tires, repairs, you pay for registration and taxes. But here's the thing, your brain doesn't see these as part of the car's cost. They feel like separate expenses, so you never actually calculate the total. You bought a car for $30,000, but you're actually spending far more than that. Let me break down what car ownership actually costs. Let's use a realistic example. You buy a $30,000 car. First, depreciation. In the first year, that car loses roughly $4,000 to $6,000 in value. In the second year, it loses another 25% of what's left. This continues for 5 to 7 years until the car finally stabilizes in value. Over 5 years, you might lose $15,000 to $20,000 to depreciation alone. That's 50 to 66% of what you paid, gone. Second, financing costs. If you didn't pay cash, you're paying interest. On a $30,000 loan at 5% over 5 years, you're paying roughly $4,000 in interest. That's money that just disappears. Third, insurance. Let's say $150 a month. Over 5 years, that's $9,000 just to keep the car legal. Fourth, fuel. The average American drives 13,000 miles per year. At current gas prices, that's roughly $1,500 a year. Over 5 years, that's $7,500. Fifth, maintenance and repairs. Oil changes, tires, brakes, batteries. The average car costs about $500 to $1,000 per year in maintenance. Over 5 years, that's $2,500 to $5,000. Sixth, registration and taxes. These vary by location, but let's say $500 total over 5 years. Let's add this up. Depreciation, $18,000. Interest, $4,000. Insurance, $9,000. Fuel, $7,500. Maintenance, $3,500. Registration, $500. Total $52,000. For a $30,000 car, you're actually paying $52,000 to own and drive it for 5 years. But wait, there's one more cost that almost nobody thinks about. Opportunity cost. That $30,000 you spent on the car, if you had invested it instead of buying the car, it would have grown. At a 7% annual return, $30,000 becomes $42,000 over 5 years. So by buying that car, you didn't just spend $52,000, you also gave up $12,000 in potential wealth growth. Your car actually cost you $64,000 for a $30,000 vehicle. Here's the psychological insight that matters. Your brain doesn't naturally add all these costs together because they're spread out over time. The purchase price is a big number that hits your brain all at once, but the other costs are small and spread out. You pay $150 for insurance and your brain barely notices it. You spend $15 on gas and it feels trivial. You pay for maintenance and it's just another expense. But together they add up to double the original purchase price. This is why car dealers love selling cars. They know your brain can't easily calculate the total cost of ownership. You focus on the monthly payment, they focus on that number, the real cost stays hidden. And this is where most people's wealth-building plans fail. The wealthy don't think about car payments, they think about total cost of ownership. They understand that a car is a liability, not an asset. It loses value, it generates no income, it only costs money. That's why wealthy people drive used cars or reliable, affordable cars, not because they're cheap, but because they understand that money spent on depreciating assets is money that can't be invested in appreciating assets. So what should you actually do about this? First, if you haven't bought a car yet, recognize that a car is one of the biggest expenses of your life. Don't buy a car based on what you can afford monthly. Calculate the total 5-year cost and ask yourself if that's really how you want to spend your money. Second, if you already own a car, stop thinking about the monthly payment. Start thinking about the total cost. Calculate what you're actually spending and see if that changes how you think about it. Third, consider alternatives. Can you take public transportation? Can you carpool? Can you buy a used car that's reliable but older and less expensive? Can you delay buying a car until you absolutely need one? Fourth, if you must buy a car, buy one that holds its value better. Some cars depreciate slower than others. Research and buy wisely. Here's what I want to leave you with. Every purchase is an opportunity cost. When you spend money on something, you're not just spending that money, you're giving up the ability to invest it and grow it. With a car, the opportunity cost is brutal because the asset loses value while you own it. Most people focus on the monthly payment because it's easy to think about. But the wealthy focus on the total cost of ownership because they understand that small monthly costs add up to massive wealth destruction over time. Your car didn't cost $30,000, it cost $60,000 over 5 years, and that's money that could have been building your wealth instead of destroying it. The question is not whether you can afford the monthly payment. The question is whether you can afford the total cost of the choice. If this changed how you think about your car, the next video reveals the other hidden costs that are silently destroying your wealth-building plans.